not in Cedric and Palu. This was the game which was initially targeted. Can you just talk us through the situation with Pessy?
Yeah, so she's been doing really well. She's back into her first full training session today, which is awesome to see, and she's been integrated in this week. As it stands, we're just looking at continuing to give her another week of training under her belt before, the potential to include her against England.
How much, when you're weighing up that decision of whether risk or not, came down to the fact that how well the back row really did play between Chance, Piper and Bill?
Yeah, so the back row were excellent last week, and with a player that's returning from injury, they're always on some form of managed game time, and with not having a huge amount of load under her belt at this point, we didn't feel the need to put her out there.
And on the sort of changes to the front row, Bridie and Tanya starting, what's the sort of different impact you're looking from those two compared to Catalina and Egot?
Yeah, so we're in a really fortunate position around our front row that we can have that element of rotation as well in terms of keeping players fresh. Bridie came off the bench last week, she'll start. Tam, we know, has got an awful lot of experience and test matches, so it's good to have that experience on the starting.
Americans in past games, and I think it's spoken about in the media this week, talk about that A-zone attack and how effective they feel like they have been in the past. I mean, Hope Rogers hit 5 tries in 2 games. How much of this week's planning has been trying to neutralise that strength of their game?
Yeah, for us, and and I know I say it every week, the big focus is about us. We've done a lot kind of coming into this competition around our try-line defence and generally our collision dominance, and there's been a lot of work put into that throughout the build-up for this comp.
And as the USA, I think the last 3 or 4 games between the two nations, it's been within sort of a 10-point margin with along the line, a lot of close sort of games in the past. How you go about just controlling the emotions and controlling how the sort of team approaches a week like this?
Yeah, so we haven't changed anything around the structure of our week and our focuses for the week, because I think as soon as you start changing things like that in a big game, it makes players pretty anxious. So our kind of the way we've led into this game has been the same as we've led into every other game, obviously with specific preview for the USA match.
Joe, just back to Pessy, the significance of this match.
Yeah.
It's been talked about for months.
Yeah.
Did that come into your mind at all when it came to maybe trying to rush you back at all or something like that?
We always wanted the potential for her to be back for this game in case, for example, we picked up a knock in the first couple of weeks of training or in the Samoa game, but as everyone has come through fit and are kind of rugby fit and ready, and Bessie is very team first, and we had a really good conversation about it, so she completely gets it. She's still there supporting the team as a leader and as a person, so having her in camp has been really valuable.
Chance, I'll bring you in. This week, considering, again, you talk about heaps, the significance of what it could be, how challenging has this week been for you as a leader to keep everyone composed, manage nerves, and also get excited for the game?
Yeah, I think pretty similar to Joe, we haven't changed much. We did have a conversation as a team, as a playing group before training today, just to reiterate, the fact that it is an opportunity for us to secure a quarterfinal guaranteed position if we win. So we didn't want to take for granted that everyone knows that that's the reality. So we did have that conversation, but I think ultimately that's not putting pressure on us. That's us believing that if we execute and we play the way we know we can, and every individual does their job to the best of their ability, that we should come out on top. So it by no means is us putting pressure on ourselves more than in any other game. It's World Cup. There's always a bit of pressure, but in the same breath, I think we've really been positive in our messaging as a leadership group to say we know that there's big stakes, but it's also nothing changes. It's the way we expect everyone to play.
You said last week before the Samoa game that you wanted to make a statement in that game. What's the message coming into this one, and what are you trying to achieve beyond just getting the win?
I think it's still a statement. I think game by game, every game is a statement when you're playing at a World Cup. But I don't think I haven't really thought about what my message is for this week in terms of that. But
I think the difference this week is it's all about the win. If it's not pretty, that's okay. But it's about getting the win this week, and we know that.
Do you feel, considering the run into Test matches, 7 tests, 8 including Samoa last week, that this is the best place the Wallaroos could be going into what's being talked about as a knockout of sorts?
Yeah, obviously there's a couple of players that are still on that injury space, like Bessie and that. So you're never ever going to be in that like perfect position as a team. But I think as a whole squad, we're really well versed in what we want to do. We've had a strong training week. Everyone bounced back really well on Tuesday for our Test match Tuesday, despite the incredibly physical game against Samoa. But we know what we've got up ahead of us is not going to be any different in terms of the physicality. So I think we're really well prepared and emotionally ready to go.
And Joe, just to comment on Macleod 40th Test, I think third Wallaroo to get to that mark, right? Like, how important is she to this team and what she's done in this Wallaroos jersey as well?
Yeah, no, that's really impressive. And for Mac, she's incredibly professional athlete. She's always doing the extras. She looks after her body really well. She's always staying out, doing her catching, and she's just a really professional athlete in her approach to everything. So that has then allowed her to achieve what she's achieving this weekend.
And can I just ask, I think there's a very similar situation at 22 in the sense that if you find yourself in these must-win games in the middle of the pool stages, at that stage you were able to claw wins against Scotland and Wales, get through. Are there similarities or confidence you can take from being in a similar situation this time around and trying to get the result?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very different group this time and a different experience, but every World Cup, you know that there's going to be a point in a pool where you've got to perform to make sure you secure that spot. And if we can do that game 2 instead of game 3, that's a really great place for us. I do take confidence knowing that we were able to perform in those gritty moments against Scotland and Wales last World Cup. But it's a very different competition. So, yes, the short answer is yes, I take confidence, but I think ultimately, you can't sit on the past. We've got to focus on the present and the team we've got here right now. And I think, yes, we're ready to do it, and we take confidence from the last couple of games we've played, the way we've worked ourselves out of a disappointing game against Wales in game 1 and then rectifying and having a really clear game plan and being able to be better game drivers in those positions as well on the field, to know that as a group of leaders on field we have a lot of confidence in each other and the decisions that we're going to make when times get tough.
Joe, can I just quickly ask, that bench makeup, particularly in the backs, you have sort of Tia and Trilly as those two main playmakers having to cover that bench. Like, how confident are you if you have say an injury to the back 3 member like you did with Desi last week, that you have that necessary cover to fill that void if it comes need there?
Yeah, it's always it's always going to be difficult to cover with the backs exactly like for like, but the skill set that those players have, we're really comfortable. And obviously this week we've gone with Trill to have that direct centre replacement, which we didn't necessarily have last week. It would have created a little bit more movement.
Cool.
That's guys.
Thank you very much.